Good morning, students. In our early class, already we have discussed about Maurya dynasties and Kushanas. Various characteristics of the two dynasties, one is Maurya and another is Kushana, that I have told in our last class. In our today's class, I would like to discuss about the history of Satavahanas in southern India. Okay, and in our discussion, I would like to discuss about the kings of Satavahanas and administrative system. Okay, in my first audio, I would like to discuss about the Satavahanas in southern India and administration of Satavahan dynasties. As a students of history, you know, after Maurya dynasties or Maurya Empire, Satavahanas had come to rule over the Deccan and southern India. At the time, the Shaka were powerful in northwest Deccan and in Gujarat. Here Deccan means southern India. The rule of Satavahanas in southern India had begun in the second half of the first century of BC. Their rule came to an end around AD 225. Shimuka was the first ruler of Satavahanas dynasties, and he established control over Pratishthan and Naneghat region. Satkarni I was the third king of the Satavahana dynasties, and during his rule, the power and prestige of Satavahanas had increased manifold. His authority had spread out almost the entire southern India. The chief opposition to the Satavahanas came from Shakkshatrapa to the west. Owing to the political scenario of the Deccan, the conflicts between Satavahanas and Shakas had become inevitable. Initially, the Shaka rulers Nahapan was successful in the war. Satavahanas had recovered their power under Gautami Putra Satkarni. He had extended his control over the entire Deccan staging from the west coast to the east coast. On defeating the Shaka Kshatrapas, Gautamiputra could establish his control over southern and western Gujarat and over Malwa as well. One comes to know about the extent of his empire from Nashik inscription and Karl inscription also. Satavahanas were at war with yet another Shaka-Kshatrapa group. Rudradamana was a notable ruler of that group. He had assembled the title Mahakshtrapa. In the Junagadh rock inscription enlightens us about his exploits. Both powers wished to establish control over certain specified areas. One such areas was eastern and western Malwa. In the Kosha region of eastern Malwa, there was a diamond mine. Maritime control commerce through eastern Malwa and the flourishing Indo-Roman trade of West Coast attracted both powers. In time, the Satavahana rule in South India came to an end. A number of small kingdoms then took its place. This is details of page number 89 of your textbooks. Now I am discussing about the Satavahana administration. Actually, emperor of the ancient China used to consider themselves as sons of gods because all Chinas thought that they are the celestial dynasties because the God himself sent them to govern the people as a king. So they did not like to cooperate any other kingdoms or other kings. Kushana was declared themselves as Devaputra. There is a similarities with Chinas and Kushanas. And the Konishko had assumed the title of Maharaja or Rajadhiraj Devaputra Shahi. A divine halo can be noticed in this period. Then the Satavahan administration system, the king was the head of affairs. He was also the head of the army. Like the Kushanas, the Satavahana too had divided the bigger region into smaller provinces. Royal officers known as Amatya used to be in charge of the provincial administration under Satavahanas. Both Bhaga and Bali were collected. 1/6 of the harvested crops was collected as Bhaga. Tax was also collected from commercial transactions. There was a marked improvement in trade and commerce in the Kushana and Satavahana era. Rulers collected tax from craftsmen and merchants. Satavahana ruler did not impose taxes on land donated to religious institutions. In special cases, some taxes were exempted, like the Mauryan. The ruler of Kushanas and Satavahana dynasties had imposed a tax on salt. Non-monarchical authority coexisted with monarchy. Non-monarchical Ganasanghas existed in central India and in certain areas of western India. They had introduced their own copper currency. Monarchs and non-monarchical communities were at conflicts with each other. This is the administrative system of Satavahana and Kushanas. And in your book, page number 91, you will find that a statue of Kanishko, but without head. In AD 1911, a statue was discovered from a stretch of agricultural fields near Mathura. Its head and hands are broken. It looked like a statue of warrior kings. The right hand of the statue held a royal script, and he was found to wear a long coat that reached down in his knee. A belt was tied round his wrist. He was also seen wearing a long cloak that reached down to his ankle. There was a pair of boots on the feet. Inscriptions in Brahmi were inscribed at the base of the statue. From this, the statue was identified as that of the Kushan Emperor. Gupta Empire. In our early lesson, we have read about the Maurya Empire, and now one of the important and significant rulers or dynasties of ancient India. That was Gupta Empire. And you know, Kushana's rule had declined in North India more than 50 years later. The Guptas emerged as significant power in North India. Initially, the Gupta rulers had assumed the title Maharaja. But from the time of Emperor Chandragupta I, the first Chandragupta, Gupta kings are found to assume the title of Maharaja Dhiraja. It is therefore evident that from the reign of Chandragupta I, the power of the Guptas has increased rapidly. Chandragupta I became emperor. Thus began the Gupta era, that is Guptabda. The Gupta Empire flourished in Middle Ganges Valley. Chandragupta I ruled till 335 AD. So, the founder of the Gupta Empire is Chandragupta I. The Gupta Empire had attained its greatest extent under the next Gupta ruler, Samudragupta. Samudragupta had defeated 9 rulers of Aryabhata or North India. The forest region of Atavika Rajya had also come with his control. As a result, Gupta influence extended from Ra region in eastern India to the upper reaches of the Gangetic Valley in west. Samudragupta even defeated 12 kings of South India. In this period, there are so many kings, and Samudragupta was the most important kings and powerful kings of Gupta Empire, you know. Chandragupta II, the son of Samudragupta, became the emperor in 376 AD, and Chandragupta II had evicted the Shaka rulers from Gujarat. Hence, he is known as Shakari, the enemy of Shaka. Silver currency was introduced for the first time around 410 to 411 AD, probably to commemorate Chandragupta's victory over the Shakas. The Gupta Empire had expanded further during his reign. Chandragupta II was succeeded by Kumaragupta. During his reign, the power and extent of Gupta Empire had remained. He had introduced various currencies. Mahavira of Nalanda was established during his reign. This is the most important fact. Mahavihar or Mahavihara of Nalanda, that is Nalanda Mahavihar, was established during his reign. That is Kumaragupta. After Kumaragupta I, his son Skandagupta became the next Gupta Empire. Around 458 AD, Huns invaded India on the northwestern frontier. Skandagupta successfully resisted the attack. He was perhaps the last Gupta emperor who could rule over a vast territory. After him, the power of the Gupta began to decline. Regional rulers began to disregard the Gupta emperor. A number of local kingdoms had emerged in northern India. And in our next class, I will discuss you all about the administrative system and history of post-Gupta period of ancient India and kingdom of Pushyabhuti, the rule of Harshavardhana, that will be discussed in our next class.